Welcome to Wits and Pieces. I'm your host, Jody Matheson, joined not by our co-host, Trevor Charuka. Trevor is not here this week. We wish him well wherever he is, which I know, but it's probably private, and we should keep it that way. What's not private is who we have here around the table to talk to you and me about the Stedman Community Hospice and the hike for hospice that's coming up. I'd like to introduce our first guest tonight, Olga Consorti. Am I pronouncing that right?
You are.
I have to ask. If you haven't watched the show before, you'll note that I mess up names all the time.
I've watched the show. You did well.
Oh, thank you.
and I like the title of your show. Very witty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the story of that another time.
Okay.
But you're the president of St. Joseph's Life Care Foundation. Mm-hmm. That's the fundraising arm of Stedman Hospice. Of Stedman Hospice, or what is it? Oh,
yeah.
What do you do, Olga?
Thank you for asking. I'm glad you asked. So I'm the president and CEO of the foundation, and essentially we look after all of the fundraising needs for St. Joe's Life Care Center. So now St. Joe's Life Care Center is on 99 Wayne Gretzky Parkway, and it has a whole host of programs and services, one of which is Stedman Community Hospice. So the Life Care Center itself has 205 long-term care residents. We have about 18 physician offices. It's sort of a concept of care for someone that can't live independently on their own. So they're not sick enough to need hospitalization, and they're not terminal to need hospice care. And then Stedman Community Hospice is on our property as well, and that is geared for anyone diagnosed with a life-limiting illness, really from the point of diagnosis. We're here to help. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding out there that people think that hospice is just for terminal end-state patients, and we want to be engaged with the patient, the family, right from the moment of diagnosis.
Well, that's interesting, because I know from my own personal experiences recently learning about hospices that I didn't really understand. I thought it was like kind of the final stop, maybe a couple of days, but that's not necessarily the case. Can you talk to me a bit, maybe for the viewers who might be as ignorant as me? We'll start with the hospice, because that's what the hike is about.
Yes.
But when does somebody go to a hospice, or what does a hospice offer that would be different than, say, a hospital or a home in that way?
Sure. The hospice has evolved so much since we started. We were the 5th residential hospice to open in the entire province of Ontario, so we've learned a lot of tremendous lessons since then, and we're really proud of Brantford for taking such a leadership role in that field. So hospice is for anyone diagnosed with a life-limiting illness, and again, as I mentioned, from the moment of diagnosis. We have so many programs and services and ways that we can help and connect, not just with the patient, but with the families as well. So one of the programs we have is a day wellness program, and that's for anyone that's living at home, perhaps isn't able to work any longer, and it allows them to come to the hospice for the day. And we have all sorts of programs and services that they can engage in, all sorts of therapeutic art therapy and music therapy, and we have a group of men that come in and play euchre. So it's just a really nice opportunity for them to mingle with people that are going through the same thing, so they understand, and it gives their loved ones a break as well, because certainly the stress and demands of a caregiver looking after a terminal patient can be quite intense too.
Right.
So that's one of the programs. The other is our community outreach program, and we're really proud of that. We're the first hospice in the province to have a model where we send a doctor, a nurse, and social support right to the bedside. So since we started that program, we can connect with people early on. We can.
Is that bedside in the
their home?
In
Yes,
the home,
in their
not just
home.
in the hospice. Okay, go on.
And we've expanded that program, so we serve Brantford, Brant County, Haldeman, Norfolk, Six Nation, New Credit Reserve. So since we started that program back in 2008, we've had more than 300,000 home visits and consultations.
I was going to say that even from the area the geographic area you've described, that must be quite a large number ongoing at any given time. I wouldn't have even guessed that high overall, but that's amazing.
Yeah, we started with about 30 patients a month, and we're at over 800 patients a month.
Wow.
So the concept is that we send our doctor or nurse to the home, and they look after the pain and symptoms of the patient itself, and then our social support person takes the family member on the other side and really looks after the caregiver needs, because we know that they're not looking after themselves, and they're not going to take the time to come to the hospice to offer, take advantage of the free care that we have, because they're looking after their loved ones. So it's really a fantastic program. It's also an emergency room diversion, so if someone is in crisis at home, we can pain and symptom manage them in their home, instead of the cost of taking an ambulance to the hospital, taking up a bed in the ER, being admitted as an acute care patient. Typically a hospital stay is about $1,100, and a hospice stay is $500 once they're admitted. So there's a tremendous savings, and it also ensures that the right patient is in the right bed at the right time. So,
right. Well, that's fantastic. You know, it seems really weird to be speaking so positively about something that must have an element of sadness to it. But you're really trying to change that stigma.
Oh, we really are, and it's such a privilege for us to work in this field. We quite unabashedly talk about death and dying, and we want people to have a good death. That's almost sort of our tagline. I often joke that I'm happy people don't see me as the Grim Reaper, always talking about death and dying, but the reality is, here's a spoiler alert, we're all going to die. So we want to give people a good death, and there's so many do-overs in life that we talk about. You get a bad haircut, do-over. You're in a relationship you don't like, do-over. Divorce rate's 50%. But in death and dying, there's no do-over. And so there's absolutely no reason in today's society that someone dies in pain, that someone dies alone, that someone dies without the knowledge and the support that we can provide for them. So we want to give people a good death, and we unabashedly talk about that.
Do you take reservations?
I hope not.
Well, you said it was a foregone conclusion for me.
It is. But we also celebrate life. So for us, it's all about living life to the fullest. And really, a lot of the families tell us that their most precious memories are at the hospice. So the final program that we have then after outreach is when we are not able to look after their needs at home, and the time has come between the patient and the families when they've agreed that they need more care, they can come to the hospice. And that's predominantly for people with 3 months left to live or less. But with outreach, we can keep them at home longer, which is wonderful. So typically our length of stay is about 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks.
And that is around-the-clock care, tremendous support from our volunteers. We couldn't operate without our volunteers. And it's really gives the caregiver a chance to go back to being the son or the wife or the grandchild and really enjoy the time with their loved ones. So there's a lot of sadness for sure, but there's a lot of love and a lot of support and a lot of life left to live still. So we help with that as well.
So people that are at Stedman right now, that you would have patients who are in that final stage.
Yes.
Are there? Because you talked about the other programs. These are programs that people come in during the day. They participate. They go home.
Yes, that's the day wellness program. They come for the day. I'm Greek. A lot of stuff that we do is about food, and the hospice philosophies. Food is like fuel for the soul. So we offer them lunch as well, and it's an opportunity for our doctors to connect with them and see how they're doing as well through that program.
So these would normally be people who are already into the community outreach program.
Yes, or just at home and they're not even ready for community outreach yet. So they come and get engaged in this program as well. And the other thing that we do is education. We have a lot of education sessions. We have a widow-to-widow group, a men's prostate support group, a suicide support group. We have a lot of opportunities that we offer people so that we're with them every step of the journey. So even once our patient has died, there's a lot of tremendous support for the family, and that's all through community donations. That's a huge part of what we do.
And that's care that's going to go on beyond.
Yes, once you're with us, you're family, and even after their loved ones have died, we have a lot of family that continue to visit and come. There's a beautiful story, plug for the Brant News today, featuring a lovely story that one of our hospice families shared, Leslie Liam and her experience with her mom when she was at the hospice, and we were able to help facilitate a little wedding ceremony for them there, for her brother, and it's just a beautiful heart touching story about the support that's available at the hospice and how we're here to help.
Now we have about a minute before the break, probably a little less than that. Before we get into the hike, is there a place that if somebody's curious about this, would they've already been contacted by
call
nursing?
the hospice. Yeah, call the hospice directly. Whether you have a loved one at home or even in the hospital, we can provide care for there as well. We work very closely with the hospital, not only here but in Hamilton as well. So call the hospice directly.
And this goes beyond just simple, like I would think cancer, but there's other illnesses too.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. A lot of hospices are disease specific, so they only take patients with particular illnesses such as cancer or AIDS in Toronto, and we are open and inclusive to everyone, every age, every stage. So that's really important to us to be able to provide care for anyone.
Well, that's great. It's so hard to be so positive. You've got such a smile for this, and I appreciate that very much. But we're going to come back. We're going to talk about the Hike for Hospice and why it's important for you to participate in making sure that you get some funding out to help these people and the volunteers and the great community work they're doing. So come on back. This is Wits and Pieces. I'm your host, Jody Matheson. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Wits and Pieces. I'm your host, Jody Matheson. I'm happy that you're joining us. I hope this isn't your last time watching, but if it is, maybe you know Olga. Our guest, Olga Consorti, president of the St. Joseph's Life Care Foundation. That's the fundraising arm of this. So why don't we speak a little bit about that? Well, you've brought some props. Maybe I'm out of line here. Are you selling me a bear?
No. Maybe. Do you got $20?
We'll talk at the break.
All right, we'll talk at the break.
It's been
What
staring
kind of
at me
fundraiser
kind
would
of
it be if I didn't ask you for money? I mean, let's face it. So this is in support of our children's bereavement program. So this is completely funded by the community, as are many of our programs and services. The government pays for a portion of our nursing portfolio, and everything else at the hospice, including the building, the heat, the hydro, lights, bowls of soup that we provide are funded by the community. So it's really a community treasure. So this little guy is Lorne Bear, and we named him in loving memory of Lorne Hankinson, who along with his wife Elsie donated $1 million to get the Hospice Capital Project started. And that's why we named the building in their honor for Hankinson House. So part of the children's bereavement program is really making it more convenient for families. We sort of sat back and took a look at the program and thought, well, if I'm now a single mom and I have 3 children, to be able to provide care for them in the community, a typical bereavement session is about $100 an hour. And then the added stress of being a single mom, having to do the kids' sporting activities, dance, all the extracurricular things, and then adding 3 sessions a week now for bereavement support at $300 a week would really make it unavailable to most people. So we try to tie in the children's bereavement program when we can with professional development days. For me as a working mom, PD days were always so hectic and stressful. It was always on the day that I had something so major going on, and they seem to creep up on you. So by tying it in with the PD days, we give really daycare for the single parent, and we have a day filled with all sorts of programs and activities for the kids, so they don't even really know that we're doing bereavement support for them. For them, it's a lot of fun. Each child gets a bear, and we have a book that was written from Mrs. Elsie Hankinson, and she was a former teacher. So she really took pride in writing this book, and we had it illustrated by one of the tremendous staff that I have the privilege of working with, Kelly Gayoker, in our office. And it's a beautiful story about a little bear whose grandpa got sick and died, and Lorne Bear's magic, and he helps wipe away tears, and he helps to cuddle at night, and we're really proud of that program and so thankful for the community support. So events like Hike for Hospice go towards this. How's that for a segue?
You mentioned this hike.
I did.
What is this hike you mentioned?
Yes, what is this hike? We are so excited to kick off our Hike for Hospice this Sunday. It is part of the Canadian Hospice Palliative Care Initiative, where all hospices across the country are encouraged to join in. It's the national start of the designated week for hospices. It's our 12th year that we are kicking off this event.
You're just showing that on the
you're showing that.
There
all right, there we go.
Get it back up. Okay.
All right. Okay. So it's this Sunday, and essentially it's a 1 kilometer. It's a 1 kilometer walk around the grounds of St. Joe's. It's a fantastic family-friendly event. We expect upwards of 2,000 people. It's rain or shine. We have a tremendous sponsor. Title sponsor is Remedy Pharmacy. So plug for them. Go out and support them. They're incredible partners for us each year. Methafarm is also a major sponsor, as is the Linden Park Mall, and they have graciously offered their parking for us as well. So thanks to our other generous people that help us out at Sharp Bus Lines, who donate buses all day. We have a shuttle service that goes from the Linden Park Mall. It's a big event. Yeah, it's a big event. Super family friendly. We have lots of rides and activities. There's a photo booth, face painting. We have a sausage truck coming this year. There's a barbecue after the event. There's entertainment. It's just a really tremendous event, and it's just an opportunity to really celebrate life and to gather everyone who has been touched by the hospice and also family members in the community that have not had a hospice experience. Because the one thing I can tell you that goes along with my prediction earlier is that eventually everyone will have a hospice experience, and we're here to help.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I'm remiss to say that I would have given no thought really, with all the hikes and all the walks and all the things that are going on, that people looking for fundraising, that I wouldn't necessarily have given as much credence or thought to what this event is, but it's something that's so community driven, and not just having. I think there's a difference between raising money for research of a national fund, but there's also a very important piece of raising funds locally that are then spent in your community. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you handle the money, that's really where your goals need to be, is reaching these people in the community to make sure you have the long-term goals on this.
In addition to being the fundraiser for the actual building itself, which is a beautiful 10-bed, 26,000 square foot facility, we had to raise nearly $7 million for that. We have to raise a majority of the operating money as well, like I said, for all the programs and services that aren't covered by the government. So events like this are so important. It's go big or go home. Our goal is $280,000. We want to put sort of all our eggs in one basket and talk to all of our corporate sponsors. Instead of having a lot of small events throughout the year, we try and do one great big celebration and just encourage everyone to come.
And I love the tie-in of celebration of life, because I think I would, my gut tells me, and again I look to you for
you're gonna have to come. You won't have to go with these gut instincts. I have to see you there on Sunday.
We'll work our way to that. But in the meantime, if you're watching the Sun rerun, I've already been. I was going somewhere with it. The idea of being, I guess, the people who are affected by this tend to be your bigger
they're
supporters.
Our biggest ambassadors.
But what could I tell somebody, or what can you tell somebody that may not yet, and I use the word yet, be influenced by the need of a hospice? What would you be telling them as to why they should be supporting this in their community today?
Because the reality is that the hospice can help every single person, regardless of age. Many hospices do not take children. So we do not have that hurdle. We think it's very important to care for everyone. I couldn't imagine being in a position to tell you, how old is your child? I'm sorry, they don't fit the age criteria. You know? So we had the privilege of caring for Evan Leversage, the little 7-year-old boy that passed away at the hospice. And that's really important to us. Again, we're not disease specific as well. So the reality is we can help anyone. I'm going to say this quite bluntly. We can help anyone in any situation. You know, and people try and trump me up on that and say, well, what if someone died in a car accident? You know, well, guess what? We offer free bereavement support for their family, so they don't have to have a hospice experience in order to get that care. And there's absolutely no expense. It breaks my heart. Number one, when people say, I didn't even know the hospice existed and my loved one died in the hospital, we didn't even know about that, especially in other communities. And the other most important thing is that because of fundraising events like the Hike for Hospice, no patient or family member will ever get a bill for any of the care that we provide.
That's amazing.
And that makes me really proud. And it makes me proud that the community has embraced the hospice concept so beautifully and really steps up to that. When we started the hospice, like I said, we were the 5th in the province to open, and I liken it to the Field of Dreams concept of, all right, we'll build it, but you have to fund it.
That's
and
right.
so far,
build it and they will fund.
Build it and it will fund, yeah. So far, the community's been amazing, and like I said, people that have had a hospice experience are our biggest ambassadors. And for those that are afraid, you know, come into the doors, like have a tour, give us a call. We would love to showcase it. And events like the Hike for Hospice this Sunday are wonderful ways because the doors will be open and the love and care is so abundant, and it's just a beautiful energy when you come through our doors.
Well, I did have the chance to pop in to the hospice, and you were absolutely right. It was not what I expected. I expected something more clinical, comfortable, but clinical, and it's not.
No.
The care that's been taken in the design and the decorating and all that's gone on there is just fantastic. It's a beautiful, beautiful place.
Thank you.
You know,
I can keep talking.
I'm choked up a little bit about this. It's because the part that strikes me is I do know people who have gone through bereavement processes that may not have got the counseling or may not have got the effects that they needed.
Makes such a difference. You know, 2-3 years down the road, they realize they're not doing well and they're struggling. If we can offer bereavement support from the moment that their loved one has died, it makes such a difference.
It does, and it impacts on there. Well, I'm out of time. Can we just rehash when it is?
We can.
Or
This Sunday,
StedmanHike.
StedmanHike.ca is the website. You can donate. You can donate to me. You can sponsor me. That's fantastic. But we really want people to come, rain or shine. Fantastic event, and I hope to see you there.
There we go. Well, you're going to be picking my pockets before we go, I'm sure. But with that, remember, get in touch with Stedman Hospice. You can do that online. Make your donations and get on out for that event. They'd love to see you and get down to check it out. It's an important place, and I know Brantford as a community, you have a big heart and you'll help out. So we'll see you there. We have more to come coming up after this break. For now, I'm your host, Jody Matheson.